You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming in at 195 pounds from Studio A, he is the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the Ring of Thunder, Sexy Thor! Well, here we are. Survivor Series season is now over. The actual event itself was really good, though, but it's kind of disappointing that there were no, sort of the usual invasions between teams, but, COVID concerns, 2020, it is what it is. But here we are in December, which is kind of a, I don't want to say a lackluster time for wrestling or for WWE in particular, but the last couple TLCs at least have been me. Well, I can't hate on it too much because it was last December where Raw came to Greenville. Rusev and Lana had that divorce thing. Seth Rollins turned heel, which has been pretty much paying off more and more as this year has gone on. Then, of course, Becky Lynch had that 2-on-1, I think it was a table ladder. No, it wasn't, because there was a disqualification, so obviously it wasn't a tables ladder shares match. But it was a 2-on-1 between Becky Lynch and the Kabuki Warriors, to which I pretty much wrecked my voice for the following 12 hours chanting for Becky, 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 with all my might, because fuck it, I'm in an arena, so of course I can. And the main event was Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles for the United States Championship again, I think. And then there was some weird sort of screwy thing with production, so it ended a little early, so I don't think people got to see Randy Orton at the very end. I don't know. But anyway, this one should be pretty good, because maybe this TLC will actually be better than the last couple, because hello, this year's Hell in a Cell was much better than the last couple. Especially with the men's one, A, actually having a proper finish, and B, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso just telling one of the most incredible stories in recent memory. Oh yeah, and also, we're gonna get The Fiend versus Randy Orton here real soon. And Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan here real soon. Ooh. And oof. And if you'll remember, maybe, probably don't, there was that whole mystery leading up to SummerSlam where Roman was going to reveal his SummerSlam opponent. This was back in 2019. And then, he had the ladders crash on top of him, and then it was just oh, who tossed the ladders onto Roman? And everybody thought it was Daniel Bryan, because he was still a heel at the time, with Rowan. And then, apparently, the whole story thing was kind of mistimed, so Roman didn't get to have a match at SummerSlam, so of course he got to have the one non-title match at Clash of Champions the following month, because of course Roman Reigns would get a non-title match at Clash of Champions. Oh god, I sound like one of those anti-Roman marks. I'm sorry. If I actually did any content editing in this podcast, I'd cut that out. I'm sorry, Tribal Chief. We love you. Oh, Roman Reigns. So, yeah, we've got TLC on December 20th, which, who knows, might be good. You never know. And then we've got a couple other events that we're going to get into coming up on the podcast. And then it'll be January. And we'll be on the way to the Royal Rumble, which thus puts us on the road to WrestleMania. And let's just hope this road to WrestleMania, knock on wood, isn't as tumultuous as this year's road to WrestleMania. Talking about things in the grander scheme of the world. I'm knocking on wood like really hard here. Please just, for the love of God, just be a normal, boring road to WrestleMania. For the love of God, please, 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 please. But we did finally reach a road that is very, very awesome. And that is finally finding out who the hell Sasha Banks is playing in The Mandalorian, which I would have covered last Ring of Thunder, but I forgot. I did cover it in WTLK The Thunder, where a lot of people who listen to that probably don't know who the hell Sasha Banks is, but I still brought it up, because you know what? They're going to learn something, and then they're going to be like, hey, this Sasha Banks sounds like a pretty cool person. I should listen to Ring of Thunder. And they would be right in doing so, and believing that Sasha Banks was really cool, and that they should listen to the Ring of Thunder. But you already know this, because you're already listening, so you're already cool, listener. But anyways, so Sasha finally made her debut in The Mandalorian. Not this past Friday, but the Friday before that. She's playing Koska Reeves, Mandalorian who's fighting alongside Bo-Katan Kryze, played by Katie Sackhoff. Bo-Katan being a character from the Star Wars cartoons of the mid-2010s. I can't remember if she was ever in Rebels or not, but she was absolutely in Clone Wars, especially towards the end. And now she's back in here trying to get a Darksaber from Moff Gideon so she can restore Mandalore to its rightful former glory. And Koska's helping her do that. And also, Koska made her first action, her debuting action in the Star Wars universe, being rescuing Baby Yoda from a Mama Core. So, all hail Koska Reeves. She is the tribal chief. If anything bad were to happen to Bo-Katan, which let's hope not, because Bo-Katan's a pretty cool character. You know, all hail Koska. Oh, tribal chief. I don't know. Not everybody's a tribal chief. Sexy Thor. Come on, get it together. But I'm just so excited about things, which is definitely a hard thing to be nowadays. But we're not talking about that. We've beat that over the head. In fact, everybody has beat that all over the head. But what's still not being beat over the head is just how awesome Drew McIntyre is, because he went into Friday Night SmackDown 2 Fridays ago. He went in there. He didn't even have a title on his shoulder, and he told Roman Reigns he was going to go get a title, and then he knocked Jey Uso's head off. Then Roman was just like, you get a title, we'll talk next week. And sure enough, Drew McIntyre is now 2-time WWE champion 3 weeks after losing it. So we're just going to fast track him into, where he should have been all along, which is fine with me. We're just really cementing him in there. Because, there are the people who haven't won a WWE championship, and then there are those that have won WWE championship or world titles like once, and then just didn't really do anything with them ever again. And now Drew McIntyre is now 2-time WWE champion with many, many more to go. And of course, it wasn't for the lack of trying from Randy Orton, because he even just tried to walk away, and then Adam Pearce was all like, there's going to be a winner here. So this match is now no DQ, no countouts, and that is official, which I think should be Adam Pearce's sort of new catchphrase, like an actual official catchphrase recognized by all. And that is official. Because, he's a WWE official Adam Pearce, because they just won't freaking call him general manager of the whole freaking main roster. But whatever. And also, the New Day retained the Raw Tag Team Championship against the Hurt Business. So I was right. I mean, I guess, whatever oh, we could see it coming from a mile away, whatever. Just like, well, whatever. I'm pleased about it. And this is my podcast, so I'm going to be like, I'm very pleased for myself that I predicted this accurately, because there, was a chance that I could have predicted it inaccurately, and I would have looked like a total buffoon, even more buffoon than I usually do. So suck it. And speaking of New Day, if you could believe it, they are actually playable characters in Gears 5 right now, as in Gears of War 5, as in the 5th installment of Gears of War. They are actual playable characters in multiplayer, and I'm actually reinstalling Gears 5 as we speak so I can get these characters. And also recently there have been ad spots about Dave Bautista in Gears 5, like as Marcus Phoenix, so I'm wondering what that's all about too, because like I know about this time last year, you could get Dave Bautista as a Marcus Phoenix skin in Horde mode, and I guess maybe multiplayer too. So I don't know if he's going to be like, you can actually have Marcus Phoenix in the campaign show up as Batista, or I don't know. But once Gears 5 finishes installing, I sure as shit intend to find out. Oh, and also, after a fun, not the best Firefly Funhouse, but after still a fun Firefly Funhouse, because Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss are always great, fight me. Yeah, Bray Wyatt beat Miz, so Miz wasn't exactly in the mood to go cash in on Drew and Randy at the end of the night. And Bray Wyatt did a little bit of training on the Firefly Funhouse, knocking his puppets' heads together, and even competed against himself in a spelling bee, where Alexa asked him to spell jackass, and then he was like, "Can you use that in a sentence?" And then Abby, who was behind Alexa, was just like, she said something along the lines of, "Just spell the damn word jackass." And then he said, M-I-Z. And he was right. So, Bray Wyatt, master manipulator, master speller. And over on Impact, the Rascals had their goodbye match with Rich Swann and Trey Miguel beating Dez and Wentz. And then it was just a really emotional goodbye. Rich Swann was there to, celebrate with them and give them all hugs and stuff. And then the Rascals hung up their jackets onto the ropes, and then they all walked over to the entrance to Gorilla, looked back over at the ring one more time, and then they all just walked backstage, and then they were jumped by Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock. So, and that wasn't going to be the last goodbye of the week in wrestling, but we'll get to that later. And you're just like, ooh. But there will be an Impact event for December 12th, Final Resolution, one of those little Impact Plus mini pay-per-views, so definitely looking forward to that, with the next major pay-per-view being Hard to Kill on January something or other. So yeah, good times ahead.
I'm Drew Leiter.
And I'm Cletus Jacobs.
Join us this winter as we watch changes in the DC Universe unfold. We'll keep you informed on DC News, we'll review the future state event, and of course, we'll be talking the Arrowverse shows when they return this January.
Thanks for letting us be a part of your DC Comics journey, and thanks for listening to the Earth Station DCU podcast.
Part of the ESO Network.
You have 30 seconds to describe Thunder Talk.
It's pop culture.
With a twist.
It's music.
LGBTQ+.
And comedy.
Well, dark comedy.
It's nerd junk. It's comic books.
Video games.
Conventions.
Yeah, nerd junk.
And social commentary.
It's woke, yo.
Yeah, and nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
Thunder Talk is all over the place.
Every place you want to be.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO Network. Find us at thundertalk.org and download us on all podcast platforms.
So about 23 years ago, in Survivor Series 1997, there was a thing called the Montreal Screwjob, in which Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart for the WWE Championship happened, and then Shawn got Bret in the sharpshooter, and then Vince told them to ring the bell, call the match. Shawn Michaels wins. Because for pretty much reasons, they were afraid that Bret was about to win the WWE Championship and take it on over to WCW, which probably couldn't have happened because that would have had a whole lot of legal reasons that I don't think WCW would have wanted, and I'm sure they knew that even with all the other sort of mismanagements and things they had going on in the late 90s. But essentially, Bret never tapped, they screwed him over. And because Bret didn't put Shawn Michaels over, because Shawn was kind of a dick during that time apparently, and said he wouldn't put over Bret, even though Bret before at the time was more than happy to put over Shawn. And that's just a sort of almost silent agreement that usually goes on between professional wrestlers. So pretty much there was that whole thing, and it was called the Montreal Screwjob, famously. But have you heard of the Orlando Screwjob? That took place recently on NXT, which started out with Johnny Gargano versus Leon Ruff in a rematch for the NXT North American Championship. And they were about to go do their thing when Damian Priest showed up, and he knocked out Leon Ruff so that he would win by disqualification, thus keeping that title out of Johnny Gargano's hands. And Damian thought he was being cool, he thought he was being cute about it, and Gargano was pissed, and Leon Ruff was definitely pissed because he wants to be an honorable fighting champion, and he's like, if I can't retain it, then I don't deserve to be champion. I mean, that's just that. And Damian was like, I'm sorry, man, it was just a joke. And then Leon took that personally. He's like, Mom, a joke to you? She's like, no, I said, this is a joke. Like, he's trying to, be petty towards Johnny Gargano, since Gargano, he felt like he was screwed over at Halloween Havoc by Johnny Gargano with all that business with Ghostface Killer, who turned out to be Indy Hartwell, because duh. And so that whole episode, and even this funny thing that was a WWE digital exclusive where Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell were being interviewed, and Johnny just crashed that interview to just go on and on about the Orlando Screwjob, and also about how wonderful a person and impressive Indy Hartwell is. And so yeah, all that happened, and so we now have the Orlando Screwjob. And it was funny because during that interview, he was just like, Candice was just like, hey, do you want to go talk to Shawn Heartbreak about it? I mean, Shawn Michaels. And he was just like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to Shawn about it, or Heartbreak about it. And then India suggested that, she'll go. And I'm just like, and she'll talk to Heartbreak. They're like, okay, yeah, but if he turns like this, just watch out, because that's when he does the sweet chin music. So yeah, he faces you completely, you're all good. He turns like this, just watch out. And they reiterated that over and over, and I was just like, oh man, I love the Garganos. Trust me, I would work for them, and I would probably do all the same stuff that Indy Hartwell is doing right now, if I'm being honest. But I also think Damian Priest is really awesome, and is just like one of the best rock star characters I've seen since, well, I guess obviously since Jericho. I don't know, there haven't really been any terrible rock star characters in wrestling, because there's Jericho, and then there's John Morrison. I mean, 3MB maybe, but there was just a certain charm about 3MB too, and of course it turned into, good characters like Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, regardless of what you think about them, and of course Drew McIntyre. But still, Damian Priest is he's just awesome. Like some people say, he's not quite a star yet, but he'll get there. He'll be NXT champion as soon as that title is no longer cursed. Of course, we don't really even know what Finn Balor's status truly is, because he went out to speak, and then he was interrupted by the kings of NXT, Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch. And then Finn said he had something for them, and I was just like, oh my god, is this just going to be like a new version of The Club with, old Bullet Club members that are in WWE? So like fucking AJ Styles and Adam Cole gonna come out and help them, or help him? And it's just like, but there's not really a fourth person in WWE that was also a Bullet Club member, because, no Gallows and Anderson. And I was just trying to think. But of course, it was the next best thing. It was the Undisputed Era coming out, kicking ass, taking names, being all undisputedly. And while they were brawling and people were trying to break it up, William Regal came out. And Adam Cole was just like, come on, Regal, say it, Regal. I beg you, just say it, say it. So, of course, William Regal said that one word that we all hope to hear and see in November, which it's actually not taking place in November now, it's taking place in December, which is fine, because we're still hearing this word yelled in this November, and that is War Games. I mean, I've now been, I guess now, a wrestling fan long enough that if I don't hear War Games being yelled in November, it's just incomplete. So at least 2020 hasn't taken away War Games from me. So it's going to be Kings of NXT versus the Undisputed Era, who I believe has been a part of like every single NXT War Games now, which is great. And then on the women's side for War Games, there's going to be Team Candice. So it's going to be Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, obviously. I think it's safe to assume Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. And like fifth person? I assume it might be 5-on-5. Maybe 4-on-4. And they're going up against Team Shotzi. So it's going to be Shotzi Blackheart. Most likely Toni Storm and Ember Moon. And maybe one or two more people. Maybe since they were featured in one of the angles last week building up to, or they were participating in, I wouldn't say they were featured, but they were in there building up to Team Shotzi, and maybe Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. And that would be a pretty nifty sort of way to, help get their profile up there. Especially since it's just been at least minorly speculated from what I've seen that Rhea Ripley might be getting that call up soon, because the main event, at least, before Finn Balor came out and we had Undisputed and Kings of NXT and War Games, it was Io Shirai retaining the NXT Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley. And even though we've seen it like at least a couple times before, this was just flippin' terrific. Oh man, I could have watched that for 20 more minutes, honestly. Oh, and over there on the AEW side, on the same night, Jon Moxley just revealed casually mid-promo that his wife, Renee Young, is pregnant. So congratulations to them. But he just slipped that in there, just talking about everything going on with he told a story about his father and he was talking about the championship and his upcoming match with Kenny Omega, and then just casually slipped in there, got a pregnant wife at home, and then afterwards, Excalibur on commentary was just like, "Oh shit, bearing the lead here. Congratulations, Renee." So yeah, exactly. Congratulations to the both of them. So Seth Rollins is about to have a child be birthed into this world within, I guess, the next couple weeks to a month. And now Jon Moxley is going to be a father here in a few months. I don't think they really said how far along Renee is. And Roman Reigns already has like 3 or 4 kids now. I know he like just had a pair of newborns earlier this year, and that's why he pulled out of WrestleMania. So yeah, all the Shield are daddies now. And and they now have a little theme for this event that's going to happen on December 2nd with Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, and I guess there's going to be some other major matches here on that night, because it's a whole event called Winter is Coming. And I'm guessing this is just some more cross-promotional stuff, because Game of Thrones is part of HBO, and also pretty much all this year, or I guess not really all this year. Well, okay, I guess HBO Max and the Turner networks are all under the same, I guess, Warner banner. So yeah, more cross-promotional thing under that whole big umbrella that is, I guess, Warner something or other. So yeah, it actually does make sense. They're just not like, their creative team isn't just like major Game of Thrones fans. Or maybe they are. I mean, Game of Thrones is pretty terrific. Doesn't matter how it ended, just throw that last season out. A whole lot of that show is still terrific. So let's just not get that lost on us. I mean, how many matches have I talked about here on this podcast that were terrific and then just had a stupid ending? I don't know. I just don't know.
Hello. Have you ever wondered how much Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster sold Superman's rights to DC for? Or which popular football star was the Sam Wilson the Falcons' physical appearance based on? You can find all that and more at the History of Comic Books podcast, a podcast dedicated to the creators, events, history, and the companies that made the great comic book medium. Hosted and created by your friendly neighborhood JT Wheatley. Please give it a listen at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and all our podcasting platforms. Thank you, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a good comic book.
What will you do when your child asks?
What were Saturday morning cartoons?
What were Saturday morning cartoons? What's wrong with you?
Or will you handle it the right way?
Sit down, baby girl. Let me introduce you to my friend Mark McCrae.
Join Dan Klink and I on the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast as we take a unique behind-the-scenes look at the history and dynamics of animation with plenty of laughs along the way.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
So touching real quick on SmackDown, there was a contract signing between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, who came back with a new WWE title that he didn't have on him the previous Friday. And they had a contract signing, and of course, to really emphasize the fact that Roman Reigns is the head of the table, in the table were usually the guys who sign the contract sit across from each other. Drew sat on one side, and Roman literally sat at the head of that table. So he is being serious about this. And I'm being serious telling you about this. Because Roman is the head of the table. He is the tribal chief. Oh, hail Roman Reigns, we love you. And Adam Pearce sat across from Drew. But he didn't say, "This match is now made official," which was kind of disappointing. But I mean, come on, Adam Pearce, if you're listening to this, first off, you're doing a wonderful job. I do like you as the not general manager of both brands. You're doing a wonderful job. You're a wonderful official. All hail to the official Adam Pearce. That's a great first name, by the way. More people should be named Adam here. And yeah, Roman just pretty much kind of roasted Drew's ass, and he even, like, you could tell Drew just getting more and more pissed off, and had less and less to say. Kind of reminded me of a few years ago when John Cena roasted Roman's ass in a promo battle. And yes, I will admit that Cena did roast his ass big time in that promo. But you know what? It is what it is. This is a whole brand new Roman Reigns he doesn't even need to promo like normal people, because the little he does say, it just comes across. And he even does talking even during matches, as he's done at Hell in a Cell, and what we'll get to later here at Survivor Series. And he's just maximizing and firing on all cylinders with what he can do at this point, and it is just incredible. And also on SmackDown, we had the Buddy Murphy, don't call him Buddy Murphy, versus Seth Rollins, I guess officially blow-off match, which wasn't as right in your face as the blow-off match as Rey Mysterio versus Seth the previous week. But yeah, Murphy beat Rollins clean the middle of the ring with a couple knees and the Murphy's Law, got the 1, 2, 3, and now Murphy is free and is no longer the disciple. He is his own man and part of the Mysterio family right now, so good on him. Hopefully this finally shoots him to the moon. But yeah, for real, that's awesome, and it's also very appropriate because when he got drafted, he did absolutely nothing on SmackDown aside from having an incredible match with Roman and an incredible match with Daniel Bryan, who beat Jey Uso in the main event, which leads into Survivor Series on this episode. And then, just nothing happened. And then he came to Raw, did a few bangers with Aleister Black, and then went under Seth's learning tree. And now here we are. We have a whole brand new Murphy ready to kick ass all over SmackDown on his way to the top. So now Survivor Series. There was this random dual brand battle royal for the stakes being absolutely nothing, and it was the old trope of the person thinking they won and then the person that wasn't actually out that they thought was out tossing them over. Of course, Dominic was the one who thought he had won, and then Miz came out of nowhere and was just like, haha, toss you over the top rope, and he ended up winning. It's getting to kind of be a tired old trope, but whatever. Still remember the WrestleMania 35 Women's Battle Royal where we thought, holy shit, Sarah Logan won, and then Carmella tossed her over, and it's like, of course, because she's supposed to be the Princess of Staten Island, and this is at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, so whatever. Maybe if it took place in like Minnesota's football field, maybe Sarah Logan would have won, because she had the whole Viking gimmick. It's too bad. But anyway, also on the kickoff show, no shit, the Gobbledygooker won the 24/7 championship. The same Gobbledygooker that was teased for weeks and finally revealed at Survivor Series 1990 on November 22nd, 1990, exactly 30 years to the day, and also the same night that The Undertaker debuted. So there we have it. The Gobbledygooker made its return, won the 24/7 championship, but then of course got rolled up on the main show, and R-Truth has the title back for like the 45th time. But at least they kept the appearance of the Gobbledygooker and didn't take off the whole helmet to reveal, oh, it's just Drew Gulak. That would have been dumb. But it's just like, oh, it's really the Gobbledygooker here after 30 years and winning some kind of championship in WWE. But I don't know. It probably didn't do anything for you, but I was at least glad that they kept up the whole charade that it was like the actual Gobbledygooker. So anyway, men's 5 versus 5 kicked off the main show, and the Raw men's team, it was pretty much it wasn't pretty much, it was exactly a clean sweep of the SmackDown Survivor Series team, and the first person from the SmackDown team that got eliminated was Seth Rollins, because he was like all up there in a trance, and then he got tagged in, and he turned to his teammates, and he was just like, this is for the greater good. And then he got down on his knees, begged Sheamus to finish him, so Sheamus hit him with a brogue kick, got the 1, 2, 3, and now Seth Rollins is a martyr and has sacrificed himself for the greater good, unofficially being on paternal leave to dadhood. Though it's said that he's going to take a much shorter break than obviously Becky is. So they're saying he could be back first of the year. Maybe, or maybe not even that early, but like the Royal Rumble, which is later that month. Who knows? But it's kind of a bummer, because even though I like the Messiah version, it would be pretty fun to just, be watching SmackDown in May, and then all of a sudden you just hear burn it down. I don't know. I'm just really fond of Burn It Down, Seth. But I have grown to really enjoy the Monday Night Messiah, Savior of SmackDown character. So if I hear a couple months from now in the Rumble, number 23, dun, 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 and it's old Messiah Seth ready to kick ass for the greater good, then I will also be happy with that. Of course, if you know, you know, and you know that hopefully, maybe, I don't know, a year from now, a couple years from now, whenever it happens, whenever the music goes off and I hear, whoa, whoa, and Becky's music starts dropping, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. But I will be very happy whenever Seth's music hits in like the Rumble or early January, whenever he comes back. But either which way, no rush. Enjoy your new family, Seth and Becky, and we'll see you when you're ready. And after all that, Roman was very pissed at Jay because they said Jay's team didn't respect him. They didn't respect him. They didn't respect Roman. They didn't respect Roman. Then they didn't respect their family, and he can't have that, so he pretty much dismissed Jay. And while Jimmy was just like, whatever, forget this fool, Jay was just like, man, really hate that my cousin's mad at me. And then next off, we were off with the Street Profits defeating the New Day in the Raw Tag Team, SmackDown Tag Team Champion Battle Match thing. And of course, the whole New Day came out. Big E came out with Woods and Kofi, even though he's SmackDown, and they were all in their Gears of War armor, with Big E holding their tag team titles, even though he's a SmackDown character or SmackDown superstar. But still, just seeing them with their Gears of War armor, Gears 5 has finally stopped installing, so I'm gonna have to be looking into getting those guys as soon as this podcast here is over. And then Bobby Lashley defeated Sami Zayn, to which, if usually when squash matches happen, there's, it takes place in like 30 seconds, a minute, 8 seconds, that's usually what a squash is, but somehow they pretty much managed to make this an 8-minute squash match, because I didn't see any offense come from Sami Zayn. I just remember him like trying to duck and dodge Bobby Lashley while the rest of the Hurt Business was kind of getting up in his face and cornering him and barricading his path and all that. But yeah, pretty much it ended just exactly how we thought it was. Sami Zayn tapping out to the Hurt Lock, and that is what it is. And then the next one, no one is ready for Koska, because Sasha Banks defeated Asuka clean in the middle of the ring with a pinning combination, with no shenanigans from Bayley, no shenanigans from Carmella. Just a wonderful, yet again, another wonderful match of Sasha and Asuka. Can't have enough of those. And Sasha getting that very important win over Asuka to really cement herself as a champion of this present day. Long live the boss, who should also be the boss of Mandalore. Of course, should anything unfortunate happen to Bo-Katan, which hopefully not. But yeah, Sasha is the victorious one of the two women's champions. And then on the women's 5 versus 5 match, this was rather controversial because Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler made Lana stand on the steps and not even tag in. Peyton Royce pinned Bayley, which could have been huge for Peyton, but it was more like treating Bayley like an afterthought. It's kind of like how Walter got pinned so easily in last year's Survivor Series 5-on-5-on-5. And then Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott used quick tags to fend off Nia Jax. It's almost like they've been a tag team this whole time. Imagine that. And Liv did get to pin Lacey, but then Liv got pinned by Nia. And Bianca Belair took on Nia and Shayna. And this seemed like it was going to be the big showcase for Bianca Belair, and to just an extra oomph to get her up there. But alas, Shayna got disqualified because she held on to the Kirifuda clutch even though Bianca's arm was under the rope. And then Nia and Bianca Belair both got the double count out, and Lana was the sole survivor. Now, I know a lot of people hated that, but I thought it was fine. And also, I don't know, how else were you really going to pay off the whole Lana Nia through the table thing for 9 weeks in a row? Because it's not like Lana was going to put Nia through a table, at least not the same way. The only time that was going to happen would be if there was already like a wooden table set up, not even the announce table, and then Lana just somehow knocked Nia off the apron and she fell through that table. That's the only way that particular scenario was going to happen. Lana, kind of small, was not going to put Nia through an announce table with a Samoan drop. That just wasn't going to happen. So her ending up being the sole survivor, which is something that will always be on her WWE resume forever. That's just a forever fact right there. That ain't gonna change. So good for her. And you know what they tried to do in 9 weeks to turn Lana into a sympathetic babyface by putting her through a table each of those 9 weeks, they already achieved in a, God, how long was it? I don't know, like 35-minute, which is shorter than this podcast, episode of WWE Chronicle, which I think is probably the most talked about Chronicle I've personally ever witnessed on the socials, because a lot of it was about Lana dealing with, her dealing with people being shitty to her on social media, which, I don't know, at face value, putting it like that kind of sounds like a silly thing, but it's a real thing that people do deal with. And especially nowadays with, everybody being, or at least most people, being self-isolated in these times, and Twitter and Instagram is really the only interaction that they get to meet the social needs that the brain strangely requires. That's that. And it even showed at the beginning of the documentary, Lana just tweeting something nice and inspirational, and people just saying that she should be fired and that she's terrible and all this other shit. It's just like, it's like, Jesus, how did I not just go on my phone and delete the social media apps off of my phone after just watching all that? Because it's just like, I just can't with people. Like, people can say mean shit to me on social media, and I'm not going to cry about it because I'm just like emotionally blocked off like that. But I'm just going to be like, Adam, why the fuck do you still even bother with this shit? Like, come on. Guess what? When you stay this long away from your phone, guess what? You're really motivated and you're really happy and you can really do things. So why do you ever go back to it? And that's just real. But yeah, it was a very well received, and even people from other companies were even talking about it. And even Brandy Rhodes was like, hey, if you need someone to, just really hype you up, then just give me a call, girl. Forget this social media shit. And that's just real. It was a very good documentary. And also, apparently she was actually born in Latvia. She wasn't born in Latvia. Her parent, she was born in America, but then when she was a young girl, she and her family moved to Latvia, former Soviet Union, and she actually took like some ballet and lived in that culture for a while. So when she's actually Lana, the ravishing Russian, and early on in her character's history, when she was speaking with a Russian accent and doing all that stuff with Rusev, it wasn't just something that she read about. Like, she actually lived that and experienced people who were just like her character during that time. So yeah, I mean, between her experiences actually being legit and also with her being way more athletic than you and I combined, I personally definitely have a newfound respect for Lana, and it's just another case of WWE just not really treating her that well. And of course, if they actually treat her way better going forward, that'll be an interesting thing. Oh, and of course, even though she's married to the guy, there was absolutely no Rusev in this documentary. Correction, there was absolutely no Miro in this documentary. Because obviously, AEW, take that glass ceiling or brass balls and shove it. I don't know. Moving on. Oh, and also this coming Sunday on November 29th, the network's going to have a documentary about Liv Morgan called Live Forever. About the beginning of Liv Morgan's singles run, I want to say. And it's going to feature stuff like when she got drafted to SmackDown and did absolutely nothing besides that one time she lost to Charlotte and said she was going to go away for a while. When she comes back, it's going to be real. And then nobody saw her again for like 6 or 7 months. In fact, the first time that we ever saw her again was in a little vignette and during Monday Night Raw, which was in Greenville, where the whole thing with Seth turning heel and everything I mentioned earlier this episode happened. Man, that was a good time. I mean, even though that Raw was iffy, oh, trust me, if I knew that was pretty much going to be it for at least 12 months, I would have taken the time to enjoy that Raw a lot more. You can believe that. And then Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre went to war, trading haymakers and just beating the holy hell out of each other. And then the ref got knocked out after a good while. Drew hit Roman with a claymore. And then the ref is knocked out, so of course Roman hit Drew right in the balls. And then Jey Uso came out, and while Drew knocked him down, Jey got back up and then hit him with a super kick, and then Roman made him pass out with the guillotine. So Jey is back in Roman's good graces, it seems like. Then we ended with the Undertaker farewell, which had Shane McMahon, Big Show, JBL, Jeff Hardy, Mick Foley, The Godfather, The Godwins, Savio Vega, Rikishi, Kevin Nash, Ric Flair, Booker T, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Kane all gathered in the ring. So basically it was the Bone Street Crew and DX, plus a whole lot of other seemingly random but still very big names in the ring. And then there was an Undertaker video package recapping pretty much his whole history, going to that Metallica song, Now That We're Dead, that he had as his theme during the Boneyard match. And then when that video was gone, so were all those men, and it was just Vince McMahon in the ring. And he very emotionally, which if you saw the last ride, you would understand, he very emotionally introduced The Undertaker, and then The Undertaker came out with his little, it was like a sort of 8-bit sounding version of his theme, and then we got into his theme proper, and then he made his super long but still super amazing entrance to the ring, and he said it was time for him to rest in peace after he spent 30 years putting other souls to peace. And then he got down on his knee and did his pose, you know the pose, and there was a hologram of Paul Bearer on the video screen paying tribute to him as well. And then The Undertaker got out of the ring and then walked back into the underworld of retirement, whatever you want to call it. And that was that. No shenanigans with the Fiend or teasing of any other major angles, even though we all sort of kind of wanted that, but we were also kind of really conflicted about it. All we got was a simple, honest, straight to the point, clean Undertaker goodbye. And with that, that's the 1, 2, 3. Thanks for locking up with me in the Ring of Thunder. Kick butts, not nuts, and rest in peace.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.